What's up, people? Welcome to the Zapata brand with George Zapata. We're doing our Boxing and Bagel edition today, and it's July 13th on Sunday morning, early today, because I had to do a few things earlier in the day. Couldn't get Diz on, and I wanted to get Percy on. It was early in the morning, and he is on the Central Time because of the Shakur Stevenson fight. But I got to go stain the deck today, believe it or not. I'm going to go stain my deck, so I had to get this done early. Well, we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to go about all the way back till Friday. We're going to go from Friday all the way up to last night, the Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano trilogy, plus then go into last night, Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda fight. Also, we'll do the Berlanga Sharaz fight. But before we get into it, let me tell you who sponsors this show today. Zapata Systems. That obviously is our new company that I put together. Company is about small business, for small business, built by a fighter for fighters. So let's go back to Friday. Friday was a decent show, I thought. I think it wasn't as not as exciting as the first two. Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor for the trilogy, July 12th. That was Friday at Madison Square Garden. That was Jake Paul's MVP Promotions. He usually puts on good cards. I mean, as much as I look at the way the media is going and all the nuances of what's happening, I do believe Jake Paul does put on a good show. Serrano didn't look as good. She lost the decision, unanimous, 2 scores of 97-93 and then 95-95 as a draw. I didn't think it was a draw. Here's what my thoughts on the fight were. I thought Amanda Serrano had a bad tactic. I didn't think she was the same Amanda Serrano. I didn't think she put pressure on enough. That is Amanda's game. You're not going to outbox Katie Taylor. I thought it was easier for her because of the way Serrano was fighting. Therefore, it was on a slower pace, which benefits Taylor. It was they landed both exactly 70 punches. But I think Taylor's countering and her footwork, I think Amanda's corner didn't pressure her enough to move forward. But maybe it's because she was used to that and she knew what to expect and try to mix it up a little bit, but it just didn't work for her. I think this is the end of that trilogy. I think that it kind of cements Taylor as she's more dominant than Amanda Serrano. Well, Amanda Serrano still, unless these fights took a lot out of her, she's still one of the better fighters in that division. Well, now let's turn our attention to the fights last night. Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda in Queens, New York for the WBC lightweight title. This was, and what I believe will be the turning point for Shakur Stevenson's career. Here's why. The pressure was on. You saw Turki Al-Sheikh was trolling him kind of weekly this week, saying that they're going to make a ring that's going to go smaller and smaller and smaller. No need for that. Shakur Stevenson put on. Now, if he had more punching power, I think he would have taken Zepeda out, but he didn't. But he put on a dominant performance, one that people will look at now and say, I think he could have beat Tank. Going based on Tank's last fight, now Tank's got a bunch of legal trouble. I don't even know if the Tank Roach fight will come off. It is scheduled, but I don't know if it's going to come off now with all his legal trouble. I think Shakur Stevenson is now going to cement himself as one of the top fighters, if not pound for pound, the top fighter in the world today. That performance was one of the best I've seen in a long time. Reminded me of a little bit of a Pernell Whitaker with a little more flash. This showed that William Zepeda is a notch below, but it also shows that Shakur is that good. Rarely got hit. It was a sweeping scores, 118-110 twice, 119-109. I mean, he had great ring generalship. He barely got touched. Zepeda was just outclassed. A slow Mexican fighter like that is going to be outclassed by someone like Shakur Stevens. This puts him now right on the cusp of where I think he can really cause. Now, this is when the big fights are going to come for Shakur Stevenson. He's right there. And people are going to want to pay to watch him fight. Before, it was a big issue of him that people not wanting to pay to watch fights. So one of the reasons why Top Rank had let him go, and they just were not paying. Now, if he uses this style, I don't think he uses style against everybody. Zepeda was just very slow. I do believe this type of fighter, this Shakur Stevenson that showed up on last night and Saturday night, this is the fighter that people want to watch. Now let's go to the main event. Turn our attention to Edgar Berlanga versus Khamzat Sharaz. Boy, did he crap the bed here. I didn't think Sharaz had it in him because of his last fight. But I will say this. I think Sharaz had problems making the 160-pound weight limit because he didn't look good. He didn't have the gas tank that I thought he would have. So I favored Berlanga in this fight. I thought Berlanga was just a bigger guy. He'd been in there with better competition. But boy, was I wrong. Sharaz scores a 5th round TKO stoppage, dropping Berlanga twice in round 4 before the ref stopped it in round 5. The second knockdown, I believe, was the one where he was really hurt. Berlanga was hurt bad. He came down, head bounced off the canvas a little bit as he was going forward. Then when he got into round 5, it was just, elementary at that point. I thought Sharaz looked incredibly good at 168. And it makes him now, he's going to have to now fight a top-level guy. Rumor is he will fight Canelo Alvarez after Canelo fights Crawford. Problem with that is, I don't know if Canelo's going to beat Crawford. This Sharaz, instead of the one in his previous fight, this Sharaz gives Canelo all types of problems because he's big, he's strong, he punches pretty hard, and he's moving forward. He's keeping him at a distance where he can put him at the end of his punches. This is a tough fight for Canelo if he takes it, if he can get past Crawford. I don't think he's getting past Crawford, though, to be honest with you, and I'm going to make those picks later on. But it's definitely one of the fights that could be down the road towards the end of Canelo's career. Now, what does that say about Canelo, though? Canelo could not do this to Berlanga, and this is when Berlanga was undefeated at the time. What does that say about Canelo? Is he slipping that much? Or is Berlanga slipping that much? Is he the one who's slipping out? I'm going to go with Canelo is slipping. And I say that because I think at the age of Canelo is, Father Time wins. Father Time is undefeated. I mean, when you look at it, he's had the tougher fights early in his career. The fights that are coming later are not as tough, are really not as tough, especially the last couple, the William Skulls of the world, the Charlos of the world, obviously the Berlangas. But Terrence Crawford is a whole different animal. Yeah, you're going to say, well, he's about the same age, different. Canelo's got to hit him. I don't think he's going to let him hit him. I think he's going to outbox him, and then eventually, I think he might be able to stop Canelo. If the Canelo who fought Berlanga shows up in September, Crawford knocks him out. And that's just my opinion. I think it sets it up for that. And then maybe Sharaz does get the Canelo fight down the road, and it would be Canelo's swan song there. He hangs it up and calls it a career. I don't know if he beats Sharaz, though, either. I think we underestimated Sharaz, and that's part of the deal here. I think that's what we did. I think he had trouble making weight. 168, he looked great, and totally dominated here, knocking out, doing something that Canelo couldn't do to Berlanga. Berlanga, I like Berlanga as a personality, but sometimes you gotta have the hunger to be a champion than to be famous. And I think Berlanga was heading towards that way. He was saying all the right things to be famous, but he wasn't doing all the right things to be a champion. You got to be hungry. Well, that's my quick wrap up on this weekend's fights. I know it's a short Boxing and Bagels. I don't have any guests today. He's out in Williamsport. It's an early morning for him. He has a lot going on. Percy Crawford, I wanted to get on because he's the guy who predicted Shakur Stevenson would be the guy in this division and in boxing. And I didn't think that. I certainly didn't think that. I'll try to get him on. Maybe I'll get him on this week because coming up, Manny Pacquiao this week. Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. on the Zapata brand with George Zapata. I am dropping an interview I had with Chris Algieri. Unbelievable insights for Chris Algieri's point of view on the fight with Manny Pacquiao. Chris had fought him. Chris is a former world champion, awesome analyst. He's going to break down the fight with me, and you'd be surprised what he thinks. That's coming up tomorrow at 6 a.m. All this week, I'll be doing a lot of shows, doing a few lives. I will let you all know. Like and subscribe to the channel so you can keep up to date on what's going on. a couple of business things I'm doing. I'll be having a couple of business guests on, doing maybe a couple of lives with a few people. A lot of AI coming in the business world. You got to get on it now. That being said, that's all for today's show. Like and subscribe to the channel. And remember, don't be envious of what I've accomplished in my life. Be inspired by what you can do in yours. We'll see you next week. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the Zapata Brand Podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast and listen where all podcasts are available.